This is something now I don't know if it's going to be the same way in like Europe when you have the Middle Ages stuff. Here, there's a lot more of these things where it's just a place grown up and it's a church. There's an entire what's it called? Entire parish, entire group of people that this is their main church. They'll just come here constantly, over and over again. This will be their main church. Monday, Thursday, Holy Communion given. And probably not even tied into any like intentional such organization. Mountain of Total Deliverance and Spiritual Warfare Ministry Kakamega. So they'll have these sort of things these over the place in buildings, just standalones like that. There's a lot more of those than there is of these big, major, international tied kind of organization churches. And so now I don't know if when you go back to the Middle Ages, back when like Notre Dame Cathedral was built, were there also equivalents of those in villages, in the countryside places, maybe even in the feet of Notre Dame, because all the peasantry and the average people couldn't all go to Notre Dame, but they were still religious. So where would they go? Now those churches, like those equivalents of those, of course, did not exist until current timeline. They might be turned into some building now. It might be some random thing. Might have broken down if it was put together as ramshackle as this. But my estimation is in 100 years, this building will still exist, but that building won't exist. But if you were telling the history, people were walking around, oh, this is historical Kakamega downtown, they would be seeing this, and there might be an assumption that most Kakamegans back here back at this time would worship at a place like this, when actually most of them would worship at a place like that. Yeah. You identify this, leave it here. Serve international ministries. Kakamega Church. Like, so now here, this probably had international money. And also a similar thing, Notre Dame might not have just been built by taxing the heck out of the peasantry and the gentry and landed gentry and all those sort of people there. Might have also been funds from international people coming in, blessing the church and doing that kind of thing for... Do they have that thing where you pay and you get like forgiven for your sins? Was that still going on back then? I don't know. But you see here now, Serve International Ministries, part of the marketing for this place is now that it's international. It has a X account, it has a Facebook account, an Instagram account, and a YouTube account. So now that is streamed and shown to other locations. Just like I was telling you, see right across there? They're selling international as part of their thing. Is that a barbershop, I guess? Now here, this was Jesus Power of Nazareth Ministries. That's right, corrugated metal. What now? Now they're just pimping Jesus. We're just Jesus. It's come for Jesus. Come for international, bigger building. In general, I don't know for the Christian people, would they feel more that they've gotten closer to God if there's that kind of prosperity to show like, oh, if you believe in God, in the gospel, like we teach it, you get that. And if you don't, you get the corrugated metal. I don't know if that plays in to people of faith. I mean, I think it does, because people are people, and some of those things are actually part of what plays into everything that we kind of do in general. Yeah. This whole one location sort of parish thing is something that's common here and even in Nairobi, in other places I've been to in Kenya, and I think it'd be a common thing in just Africa in general. But what I want to ask you all out there who've been to other countries, more developed countries in Europe and in America, is that also a common thing where you have single location parishes, like say in the flyover country of the United States of America? I spent some time in college, years in college in West Virginia, and I traveled to some smaller towns, and I don't necessarily recall seeing that there was churches, but I think those had some more at least national sort of thing. It would be Presbyterian, and if it's Presbyterian, I think it would be tied in somewhat to the greater Presbyterian community or organization in the world. If it's like a small Catholic church somewhere, that has some tie-in. But these ones, it's like these people just make up their own things. And then you also have the mega church thing. You have these touring preachers and pastors who travel all around Africa and have these big major things. And then you go into some of them, they have the sort of Joel Osteen type dancing where people are like being people are being blessed and having miracles and things like that. Anyway, I'll be looking more into some of these things and going in a project I want to start, just getting stories to see what the faith and what beliefs were and what people were taught before the colonial effect came, the colonial ideas came. I just want to get some idea of that before the older people who really had those experiences and knew those stories die off and those stories kind of go away. So I'll be looking into that, and some of that will probably be going to the churches and seeing how the Christianity kind of tied in those older faiths, just the same way like Christianity, which was a Bronze Age faith from the Middle East, went to the Europe during the Middle Ages in that time, and I think was adopted, and that kind of melded into the belief systems that they had at that time during the Enlightenment, and created the Christianity that we see now, which was brought to Kenya, and then that also had its own evolution morphing sort of system here.